Macca's Guides.
Hey guys, Macca here. This is my top 10 games of 2015 list. This is a personal list, which means it probably doesn't match your list, but that's okay. We can still live in unison. Feel free to post your top 10 or top 5 or top 3 or whatever the hell you want in the comments down below. Just a couple super quick notes to get through before we get into the countdown with the gameplay. First thing I want to get out of the way is my personal gaming biases. I like gameplay mechanics. Gameplay to me is the absolute number one most important thing in any game. To me, the gameplay mechanics, and how the game works and functions and feels in the player's hand is the most important thing, and a good story is just a supporting role. I also often give a lot more value to unique games for trying something different and making me experience something different than just generically good, objectively good games. So for a lot of the titles in this list, I'll be talking about what makes them good in my personal opinion, and for a lot of them, what makes them unique and different and sets them apart in a year of a ton of games. I also just personally tend to like first-person shooters and racing games a little bit more than I like long-lasting RPG games. That's just how I am. Again, everyone's a little bit different. Now, you can't have a best games list without a worst games list. I didn't want to make a whole list about the worst games I've played this year, but 2 games deserve to be put on blast. Gianna Sisters Dream Runners and Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 5. You are both terrible games that don't deserve to be played. Also, a few quick honorable mentions. They didn't make the list. Super Mario Maker, Bloodborne, Destiny 2.0 / The Taken King expansion, Assassin's Creed Syndicate, Guitar Hero Live, and Dying Light. You all did pretty good on my list, but didn't quite make it. And the one game that I haven't played that a lot of people would have in their top 10 list, I've decided to play it next year when I get a new PC and can stream it along with the DLC and Season Pass content, and that is The Witcher 3. I'm only one man with one set of hands making videos for one channel. I didn't get a chance to play it. I will play it. It is at the utmost top of my backlog list, but I didn't play The Witcher 3, so it can't be on my list. Let's get into it. Kicking it off at number 10, I've decided to already break the rules and put 2 games there that serve a similar purpose. And those games are Rare Replay and the Uncharted Collection. Both of these games try to offer a lot of value at a discounted price. Rare Replay by offering 30 retro games and newer games for the price of $30, while the Uncharted Collection offers 3 Uncharted games remastered at one price. Rare Replay does a great job of displaying all of Rare's titles and putting them together in a format that makes sense and stringing them together in a way that makes gamers want to experience all the different types of games. Now, not all 30 games are great games, but they're all worth trying probably at least once, and there's a few games on this disc that are worth it alone, like Conker's Bad Fur Day, as well as the Perfect Dark series, Banjo-Kazooie, and Viva Pinata. Rare Replay was one of the most pre-ordered games after E3 2015 for very good reason. I know a lot of people really enjoyed this collection, and you get a lot of value for what you're paying for. It's not necessarily revolutionary or groundbreaking by any means, so that's why I've decided to put it at number 10 alongside Uncharted Collection. The Uncharted Collection was a game that made a lot of sense for 2015, leading up to Uncharted 4 coming out in early 2016. For a lot of gamers, the PlayStation 4 was their first entry into the PlayStation market, and a lot of people were looking forward to Uncharted 4, so it was a no-brainer to include the first 3 on one disc for a lower price, and remastering them was also a no-brainer so that gamers could experience the best parts of all games all at once. This game also offers a great bunch of value, allowing you to play hours and hours of single-player story for one low price. Coming in at number 9, I have Until Dawn. Now, in no way is this game a perfect game, but it does a lot of really unique things that I really enjoyed. I also love the horror genre, horror movies, and this game plays a lot on that love of mine. So graphically, the game looks pretty amazing, even though the gameplay doesn't necessarily call for a lot of high-end So graphically, the game looks pretty amazing, even though the gameplay doesn't necessarily call for a lot of processing power. And this game tried a lot of unique things, which I'm a big proponent of. The game also earned its M for Mature rating with a lot of gore and curse words, and your small decisions actually had an effect on the game, and it wasn't just an illusion. The game also used a couple of unique game mechanics that incorporated the PlayStation 4 controls, which I really actually enjoyed. Now, the game was somewhat predictable, had a few too many jump scares early on, and was very kind of sit-back, minimalistic gameplay. I really did enjoy this game though, and it is worth trying for those people looking for a seriously unique experience that they haven't really seen before in any games that have come out recently. In at the number 8 spot, I have Rocket League, and this game actually reminded me a lot about Trials in certain ways. This game is a very simplistic game on the surface level, but beneath that surface level, the game is built on an incredible physics-based foundation. The game plays perfectly into the easy to play but hard to master style that I love so much. This is a game that I really enjoyed sitting down with for an hour or two after a long day and just having some mindless fun without taking it too seriously or really playing to win, although winning in itself and getting skillful is a challenge in its own. Now, watching gameplay of this game is simply not enough to understand how fun it is. Watching gameplay, you're thinking, soccer cars, big deal, Maka, what's the point? But there's just something about this game that makes it so crazy addictive and fun to play, and it's really hard to pinpoint exactly what that is. I think it's a safe assumption to say that a lot of other people have been bitten by the Rocket League bug this year, and I'm very excited that Xbox One players get to experience it next year. In at number 7, I have Fallout 4, and I feel like I'm going to spend more time defending my decision as to why it's at number 7 and not talking about how it earned that spot and why I actually enjoyed it. There's no doubt that this game has a cult following, and there's no doubt that a lot of people are very passionate about Fallout and Fallout 4. With that being said, I don't think Fallout 4 did enough to push the series forward to earn a higher spot on my personal list. Anyone who's played Fallout 4 knows that the graphics are a little bit outdated, the engine is a little bit outdated, the music and audio is not that stellar, and that the game generally doesn't run very well on PC, Xbox One, and even the PlayStation. On top of that, the game is incredibly buggy and glitchy, but that's something that people have just come to accept with the Fallout series, and for some reason it's not a big deal. Now, I think Angry Joe said it best this year when he said that Fallout 4 is better than the sum of its parts. If you analyze Fallout 4 part for part, it doesn't look like it's going to be a good game at all. But it does a really good job in engrossing the player into its rich atmosphere and making them a part of the world. Players will get lost for hours and hours in the open world doing completely random tasks and forgetting about what their main objective is. And there's a lot of value to be put into that. Also, for what it's worth, I think the new crafting additions and being able to build your own base is a welcome change, and I would love if they put an even bigger focus on this in the future. Add that onto the fact that they'll be adding mod support, and this game looks like it's hopefully going to be getting better and better, as long as they can get over some of the performance hiccups they're having currently. In at the number 6 spot, I have Rainbow Six Siege. For some reason, yet another game I feel like I kind of have to defend for getting the position it did. Like I said at the beginning of this video, gameplay is king to me, and this game knows what it's doing when it comes to gameplay. I mentioned this earlier this week, but graphically the game is just okay, the netcode has a lot to be desired, and the servers are iffy to say the least. But with that being said, the PvP online component of this game is some of the most tense, thrilling, and heart palpitation causing gameplay I have ever experienced. The game encourages strategy and teamwork on a level that is unparalleled in the AAA shooter market, and for that it deserves a lot of applause in my opinion. This is a game I can easily say that I'm thoroughly addicted to, and a game that I'm continuing to play even after I don't have any more achievements to unlock. Hopping into a party with 4 of your friends and playing online is an unparalleled experience this year in my opinion, and I highly recommend it for that reason. At the 5th spot, I have Life is Strange, which earned its position by uniqueness alone. Feel free to put me on record and quote me in saying that I think the Life is Strange game is a better episodic storytelling game than any of the Telltale games up to this point. The story in this game drew me in like a lot of stories aren't able to. The music in this game was selected masterfully and fits the game perfectly. Telling the story from the perspective of Max makes a lot of sense. And although ultimately I felt like the time manipulation was underused, it was a cool mechanic to have in the game. This is a game that I think is truly worth experiencing. My only complaints are that the endings don't feel like they're necessarily influenced by some of the decisions in the earlier episodes, and I think that the episodes were released too far apart if you were actually playing them episodically as they were coming out. But obviously that problem is completely addressed if you're able to play all of them at the same time and purchase them now. In at the number 4 position, I have Rise of the Tomb Raider. Graphically, the best game on the Xbox One. Gameplay-wise, an intense experience with a lot of great storytelling and a lot of great gameplay mechanics. On top of that, you'll add that the game has a decent amount of replayability, and it will have you revisiting older parts of the game with newer equipment in order to access areas that you weren't able to previously gain access to. I think the team at Crystal Dynamics did an excellent job in envisioning a Lara Croft that was strong and powerful and sexy without being overly sexualized. I felt drawn to her cause, and I thought that a lot of the puzzles in the tombs were very well executed. I thought they did a very good job creating a living and breathing world for Lara to explore, although I really wish that the tombs were integrated slightly differently and made more sense in terms of how the game functioned. The game also has like way too many collectibles, although they are easily collected using maps in the game, and that can easily be overshadowed by the great cinematic and engaging experience. In terms of single player action adventure games, this one tops my list. And at number 3 on my list this year is the best multiplayer experience I've had in a long time with Halo 5. You have no idea how happy I was when I heard that Halo 5 was returning to the basic principles of having symmetric maps, 4-on-4 with equal loadouts and weapons on map. The competitiveness, fairness, and symmetry of Halo's multiplayer is what always drew me in and makes Halo 3 one of my best games of all time. Halo 5 felt like a return to the formula that made the Halo series great for me. There are few gaming experiences that can measure up to a team of 4 people working together and team shotting using battle rifles on a competitive symmetrical map. The team at 343 has also somehow updated the game and included new features like sprint, clamber, and hover or stabilization, and still made the game feel like Halo. These were changes that a lot of Halo elitists and purists like myself weren't necessarily welcome to, but after experiencing the game firsthand, they make a lot of sense. They speed up the gameplay, and the gameplay still feels like Halo. And this game is a hell of a lot of fun, and I highly recommend it. The best Halo, in my opinion, in close to 10 years. Now, I'm not going to get too much into depth with the single player aspect of Halo 5. It left a lot to be desired. It felt more like a prequel to Halo 6 than anything. I don't think it did a very good job telling a story. I don't think it included enough Master Chief, and I felt like Spartan Locke was uninspired, and I didn't really care about what he was doing and why he was doing it. So from a single player perspective, like I said, it left a lot to be desired, but multiplayer wise, an incredible game, which is why it ranks so high on my list. It's worth it for the multiplayer alone. And at my number 2 spot is Ori and the Blind Forest, which is a game that completely took me off guard and surprised me. This is a game that I usually don't like, as puzzle platforming is not typically my thing. But the graphics are colorful, sharp, and detailed, and pleasant to look at. The music is, oh my god, incredible. The world is engaging. The story makes sense, also engaging. The map is designed beautifully to be complex, and although sometimes you feel lost, you'll always end up being where you're supposed to be. There's a great progression, great pace, and sense of discovery. The game is very skill intensive. It's a hard platformer. It includes RPG elements and manual saves, which make it a little bit on that more hardcore side, so it doesn't feel like you're playing a game for kids. The controls feel great, and the game is a perfect length at about 8 or 9 hours. My only slight problems with the game is that it doesn't necessarily feel like it has a lot of replayability, and there was also occasional frame rate stutters that were very minor. I don't think there are enough words to describe how much I recommend this game and how much I can't wait to further play it in the definitive edition, as well as hopefully Ori and the Blind Forest 2, if that series makes sense for Microsoft. And finally, my number 1 best game of 2015 is none other than Metal Gear Solid 5: The Phantom Pain. I prefaced this video by saying that gameplay mechanics are more important than anything else, and in my opinion, no game ever has done it as flawlessly from a gameplay mechanics perspective as Metal Gear Solid 5: The Phantom Pain. The game is huge, complex, and has a lot of value. The gameplay will even go as far as to change based on how you play it. You get a lot of headshots? Well, enemies will start using helmets. You use a lot of gas? Well, enemies will start using gas masks. Play a lot of missions at night? Well, now the enemies have flashlights. Yes, it actually goes as far as to change the game based on how you've been playing it. Now, it's obvious that the game is graphically spectacular, one of the best looking games you'll play. Music-wise, the game is also very good. The cinematics are long, in-depth, and look incredible as well, although they don't necessarily make a lot of sense, to me at least. But with all that being said, this game is the best sandbox game you can and will play in 2015. There are literally thousands of ways to tackle every single scenario, whether you want to play stealth or action, and the good thing is that the game plays excellent regardless of how you want to play it. The game goes as far as to include a mother base mini game, which is as big and complex on its own to be its own part of a different game. You will find yourself spending hours developing your base, figuring out what you should be doing, and then full-on extracting more enemies in order to build your base even further. On top of the countless gadgets that you can use and the vehicles that you can spawn in and the support you can call in, you also have 4 buddies that you can take along the journey, including Quiet, D-Horse, D-Dog, and D-Walker, and all 4 of those encourage completely different playstyles on top of the gadgets that you've selected in the beginning. The gameplay, the game mechanics, and the complexity of this game are absolutely marvelous. I really can't speak highly enough of them. Yes, the story doesn't make that much sense. Chapter 2 in its own is not very good, has a lot of repetition, doesn't make a lot of sense, and once you beat the game, you feel a little bit empty inside and as though it was incomplete, because it probably was. Even with that minor hiccup, I think this is as close to perfection as we have come since GTA 5, which was my #1 game in 2013. Thank you guys so much for watching my top 10 list. No doubt that 2015, at least in my opinion, was a way better year for gaming than 2014, and probably even better than 2013. If you want to watch those videos, links down in the description below. I made videos for those years as well. Like I mentioned, if you have your own top 10 list or less games, feel free to post them down below. I'd love to hear what your favorite game of the year was. If you're interested in purchasing any of these games, I have included Amazon purchase links in the YouTube description as well. You can also support more content just like this in the future by checking out patreon.com/Maka91productions. Again, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video and the whole year's content. And until next time, peace!